All right, ladies and gentlemen, everyone out there on YouTube, welcome back to another news video. Fabs and I, we're officially back with one of the most. How can we actually describe this video, Fabs? A lot of.
Controversial, confusing. Like, I don't know how to explain what's going on anymore. Like, it's just there's so many things that are going on in my head right now regarding this last few 3 days. I believe so. It's been 3 days since the patch dropped, and I don't know what's going on anymore, man. Like,
Yes.
I think after those 3 days, they finally give us an answer on what's going on. I think we want to explain the whole timeline of the situation, right?
Potentially we have to.
So
Yes, Fabs. So,
yeah, let's
first
explain
of
from the
all,
start, right? Yeah.
First of all, guys, Homelander just dropped as the new DLC character for Mortal Kombat 1. Everyone is hyped about, and the character looks gorgeous, Fabs. But that's not what this video is all about, because with Homelander, they of course introduced some minor changes to the game. As always, whenever there's a new character, there's a patch alongside it which fixes some stuff, maybe just some visual glitches, and sometimes it's even a balance change, right? But first of all, Fabs, we have to explain to our audience here, which might not follow the Mortal Kombat social media at all, that we literally have the world's biggest Mortal Kombat tournament next week. $200,000 prize pool. It is by far the biggest Mortal Kombat event there ever was, featuring all the pro players. NinjaKilla, Sonicfox, Kanimani, Tekken Master, all of them are gonna be there. But then, Fabs, I think we can officially say that NRS dropped an absolute bomb on social media, and no one expected what happened. Because with the most recent Homelander patch, maybe Fabs, you want to explain them what they actually did.
So right a day they dropped the patch on the Combat Cast. I think it was on a Monday or a Tuesday. They said we're dropping a patch with Homelander, and we will not make any significant balance
Yes.
changes. We're like, okay, fine. The game is gonna go in this current state to Final Combat, which is the finals of the MK competition, right? And we expected, okay, nothing crazy, right? The patch drops, and then we see the cameo Cyrax doing what he was doing back in September, and we were like, okay, is this a bug? Like the chopper, people like the thing people were spamming the whole time that was making probably the most toxic and the most annoying and horrible gameplay to watch, in my opinion, like
I agree
by
with
far.
that.
And
Yes.
it was back. And we were like, okay, surely it's a bug. Surely what's going on? Because that was not mentioned in the patch notes. The patch notes did not say that the Cyrax horizontal chopper was costing half a meter
Yes.
because
And
it used to cost one,
something I
right?
want to add here on top of that is that according to social media and the feedback we received on our own YouTube channel as well, Cyrax as a cameo nearly killed the game in terms of
Yeah.
viewerships. It was by far you guys. I know that you guys out there, you hate Striker, you hate Chameleon, and it is, perfectly fine. But Cyrax back then was a complete different level of busted, especially when we mix in that the pre-state we came from with Raiden,
Ugh.
like it was. Cyrax was literally dominating the entire game because he had the power to make everything safe for every single character. I mean, I don't have to remind you guys, Baraka Cyrax is the perfect example. It was absolute hell to fight that combination. And of course, the pro scene abused that because having a cameo with so much utility, which makes every unsafe decision safe, and you can even proximity as certain stuff, so you can literally keep your turn forever with literally to no counterplay. Because don't forget, Fabs, back then, flawless blocking didn't reduce the meter build, right?
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
reduced the chip damage, but that is a complete different story. But what NRS did then, and I'm super, super happy that they actually did it, they nerfed the cameo because the entire community asked for it. Even the first professional events we saw back then were super, super dominated by that one single cameo. And what NRS did is, and we can maybe even show a little clip here, Fabs,
Yeah.
they literally showed. Okay, they said, you know what, it is too strong, so what we're gonna do is we make the chopper cost the full cameo bar, and
Yes.
we slow
So
down the recovery, right?
yeah, you basically do it once and you do the most OP thing that you're doing the whole time,
Yeah,
and it was over. You have to wait like 15 seconds now. And I was like, okay, okay, fine, fine. And then people went to Lauhat. Some people still played
exactly.
Cyrax. Some teams, Kenshi and Cyrax works really well together because you need only once, right? Some people were using Cyrax, but more for the bomb setups, like Sindel, for example. Some people were just using Lauhat, Striker, Sector, other different cameos, and Chameleon drops, and then everyone is doing Chameleon. Like the game became more diverse, obviously, and we were all happy about it, right? We're all cool and stuff. But then as the game goes, people were like, "Oh my god, it's just Chameleon, it's just Chameleon." I'm like, "Okay, fine, But is the game going the way it was before, where you would do something into Cyrax, and if you press, you get full comboed, or if you block,
Yeah,
you still have to hold it, and you have to. It was. I think if you think about it, right, keeping your turn is a concept in fighting games have been going for so long,
it
but
really
keeping your
is.
turn that easily, and also it's so boring to watch. Like
It
it's
is
the
super,
same
super
concept.
boring
There's no
to watch.
execution. I'm just holding my cameo bar. I mean, button, and then boom,
Yes.
chopper, and I go again.
And that's what I exactly meant
Ugh.
with it. It nearly killed the viewership for the game. But now, Fabs, let's talk about it. What happened? Because everyone saw that now Cyrax, right now with the current Homelander patch, is back in his old version. That means
Oof.
chopper, super, super quick recovery, and it only costs half a cameo bar. And that means we are gonna see chopper combat non-stop. So everyone thought, okay, this cannot be intentional because NRS had obvious reasons for nerfing the cameo down. Everyone agreed with it. But now, 3 days after, and please don't
3
forget,
days, man.
next
3
week,
days.
Final Kombat is happening, a $200,000 tournament. NRS posts this, and they are literally saying, we are aware of the changes affecting the Cyrax cameo and issues impacting Homelander. Cyrax will remain as he currently is for Final Kombat, but we are working on adjustments for him as well as Homelander-related fixes for a patch releasing shortly after Final Kombat. So, Fabs, what this actually means is the Cyrax cameo right now, it is not intended to be like that. And it is literally a wrong
A bug.
version.
Yeah.
It is a bug in the game right now. And they will let this specific cameo rock
Run
for the
down.
biggest world finals we ever had for Mortal Kombat. And then we'll
man.
adjust it after that single tournament. And Fabs, that is something we definitely have to talk about here because in my opinion, it is a disaster for competitive Mortal Kombat. This is a big, big mistake in my opinion, because first of all, we have to keep in mind that Final Kombat is an invitational tournament that players qualify throughout the entire year to be there.
For months, yeah.
For
Since
months.
the game came out, it's insane. People have been grinding and traveling and doing all these things and adjusting to the meta.
Yeah.
And there's even like the last chance qualifier happening on the same weekend. People are traveling to qualify for Final Kombat, one spot remaining, and they're like, okay, what the hell? I have to just adjust to this meta for 2 weeks, playing the biggest tournament ever, knowing that after the tournament is over, I'm gonna be playing in the patch that I was grinding again to go. Like, it is so confusing what is going on right now.
Yes, I genuinely don't understand as well, because my biggest problem is with Final Kombat, we are trying to showcase like who is the best player in the world, right? And I was just hoping that we're showcasing the game on like the current version of the game, like the most balanced version of the game, to determine, you know, who is the best. And that's exactly why we get balanced patches in fighting games in the first place. We are trying to give a fair chance to everyone. We try to balance strong things down, weak things up, to have a current meta where everyone can play the game on a similar level. But what happens now is with introducing the old Cyrax back, I mean, I don't have to tell you how strong Sonicfox, for example, Rain Cyrax, that combination. And that means what's going to happen, potentially happen. I don't know if Sonicfox is going to play that combination, but what could happen, and that's what bothers me, is Sonic could bring back a combination like that, and no other player has recent matchup experience versus that particular combination, right?
Yeah, I made a point and I was like, okay, they're bringing a cameo that is considered a bug, right, on a stage. I would understand if no one played that, right, and they wanted to keep it rocking. And if you want to take 2 weeks to learn that, or like a week to learn that, okay, that's on your cost. But if not a single person played it, fine, let it rock. But like, you know damn well this dude won an event with Rain Cyrax. You nerf Cyrax and nobody touches that anymore, and then you bring it back
Just for this fight.
knowing what he did?
And
Bro.
that is literally the thing about it. Like, this version of Cyrax is most likely only gonna be there for this $200,000 World Finals, and then after
Yeah.
it, it's gonna be gone again. So we're gonna determine the best Mortal Kombat player in the world on a version which is not even supposed to be like that. And that, in my opinion, is a very, very questionable choice on NRS. And I have to be honest here, I love the game, I love NRS as a company, but that is something I just personally don't agree with, because it is just very, very weird. And especially considering that the solution would be pretty easy in my opinion. First
Revert
of
the whole
all,
patch.
Homelander is not allowed as a character anyway in pro
Mm-hmm.
competition, and it is an offline tournament. So having a pre-built PlayStation 5 version of the game, basically the older version of the game with offline access, would be enough to host the World Finals on a version which is supposed to be like, like the version that should be, and not
Yeah.
like the bugged version we have right now. And on top of that, for everyone watching this on YouTube, Fabs and I, we decided to literally invite an affected player. We invited Final Kombat here for his opinion into this little podcast to basically tell us his opinion about it, because the players, they were not aware of what's going to happen as well, Fabs. They tweeted at NRS for so many days because they're like,
It
okay,
was crazy.
should we
Like,
prepare for Cyrax, or is the cameo gonna be nerfed right before Final Kombat again? And it is just a very, very weird situation we are in right now as a community. And I personally feel very, very bad for the players.
I know a lot of Johnny players that will be at Final Kombat, and the ones that are also trying to qualify for Final Kombat. There's Zombat. I'm sorry, the twins. I think Sonic and Ninja. They also play Johnny as well. But also there's Pulse also going to Final Kombat, and all these guys, they played Johnny Cyrax. They know how Johnny Cyrax works, right? That back in the day it was mainly Johnny Cyrax and Johnny and Lao. But now Lao is not as effective, and now they're like, should we
Yeah.
grind Johnny Cyrax right now? And it was 3 days of pure silence.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
did not know. Of course, they were grinding Johnny Cyrax, and now the developers go ahead and say, "Oh yeah, that's going to be allowed," but only until the finals. After the finals, is no longer allowed. So, what
A very
do you take from that?
a
What's
very
going on?
questionable decision in my end, but of course we are curious about your opinion. So please let us know in the comments. What do you think about that decision here from NRS, letting Cyrax rock in a bugged version for the biggest Mortal Kombat tournament there ever was? $200,000 prize pool involved, and the players are gonna play the game on a version which is just literally bugged. I still cannot believe that I'm saying this, but please let us know in the comments. And of course, now we're diving right into the little interview with the player who is directly affected by that change. Final Kombat, one of the strongest players in the Middle East alongside Tekken Master. He is going to be competing for that $200,000 prize pool next week. And let's hear what he has to say about the Cyrax change. Now we have him here, one of the best players, literally in the entire world. Final Kombat joined us for that little Cyrax discussion here. And first of all, I want to say, Faysal, thank you so much for your time. It's an absolute blast to have you here on the mic.
Habibi Rips, thank you so much for having me. You know how much I love the community here and how supportive I'll be of it as always.
Faysal, but of course, Fabs and I, we talked about the Cyrax situation for the last 10 minutes already. And now my first question to you. Did you expect that Cyrax is going to be allowed in the bugged version he is right now for Final Kombat, the literal biggest Mortal Kombat tournament there ever was for the game?
I did not imagine that would happen. Like at first, the game dropped, and we saw that the servers were down, but Cyrax was there, and I didn't freak out. I was like, "It's fine." And when the version releases and the servers are on, we're just gonna be playing the game without Cyrax. And the servers released, and Cyrax is still here. Okay, it's fine. I'm not gonna touch Cyrax. I'm sure this is a bug. Let's just wait 3-4 days to see and let them declare that it's a bug. Obviously, if it's not a bug, they would have addressed it already.
Yeah.
But no one addressed anything. 5-6 days later on, they release and they say, just yesterday actually, they release saying that Cyrax is going to be legal for Final Kombat.
That is right.
Basically changing everything we've been practicing for, just like that. Because Cyrax is not a cameo, Cyrax is a meta change.
That's
We have to
beautiful
emphasize
point.
on that. It's not
Yes.
something simple.
So, Faysal, you're saying the same thing. Cyrax in his pre-version, so to say, like he is right now, is definitely the strongest cameo in the game, most likely. You mentioned he is the meta. We saw how dominating he was in the early days of MK1. So you, and I remember you saying back then that you hope that they're gonna change that particular cameo. So they did it.
Indeed.
But now he is back. And what does that mean for you as a player, actually? 1 week prior to the tournament, you now have to probably adjust to a complete different matchup, right?
Exactly. Now there are teams that I never thought of that suddenly have
Yeah.
been created. And now I don't even know what I might see. You know, like at first I know the players. I've been grinding certain
Yeah.
matchups for weeks now, and suddenly now I don't know who anyone might pick. You know, like
Yeah.
Soul's Clue already placed Sindel Cyrax. Now he's the ultimate titan in
Exactly.
our group.
Oh yes, man. You know what's even
Right?
crazier? How many Johnny players are in Final Kombat, right? Group D, right? Most Johnny players are there. If you don't play
Yeah,
Johnny and you're fighting those players, you need the Johnny Sarex XP, right? And who's going
exactly,
to give you that XP if not for those guys, right?
exactly,
So you're going
exactly. Like
blind.
that's
You're
the
going
entire
blind on that.
case.
It's
Yeah,
it's
I'm
insane.
completely blind now about some of these things. Now, luckily, I will get the matchup, but I mean,
Oh,
before 4 days, I need to grind this matchup, especially that it's not an easy matchup. I need to find the character for this.
yes.
Like
And you also
it's Johnny with Cage with Tyrax. Like
oh,
this is a skyrocketing team.
yes. Do you think you're going to be playing Baraka Cyrax?
Yeah, I might for Johnny Cage Tyrax.
Do you think other people will
But
go Baraka Cyrax as well? I feel like that team is really
um,
strong.
probably, yeah. That team is strong, and that team is probably the only weapon that's still there to fight Johnny Cage and stand
Oh
against him.
man, oh man, oh man, oh man. This is
What can we do,
chaos.
man?
Yes, it is
Do you
Yeah,
gonna.
this
think?
is really chaos, bro.
It is
Really.
gonna be very, very interesting to see how it's gonna be next week when Final Combat is finally here. So many people were waiting for this particular tournament, and now the players, Faysal included, have to play on a completely bugged version with a cameo no one was ready for. And we are just curious about your opinion here on the YouTube side. Let us know in the comment, what do you think would the right decision be? Bugged version, or maybe just, you know what, revert the patch, or even let them play on the older version of the game to have proper balancing. But we're gonna see how this one is gonna unfold in the next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, a big thank you here to Faysal as well, who gave us his perspective as a player directly affected by the Cyrax change. And of course, we hope that you guys enjoyed this little video. Thank you so much for watching, and we're gonna keep you updated with all stuff competitive MK.